Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Module 3. This time around, what we're going to do is we're going to practically develop our central project producing a written academic argument for our milestone project for this class. Last week, you were asked to start digging around to get a feel for researching for your selected topic. This week, you're asked to actually produce those sources to provide initial analysis on them and to begin thinking about how you will integrate them into your actual writing project. So for the exercises for this week, you're asked to come up with 3 credible, useful sources for developing your argument. 2 should support your positive arguments, meaning they support your stance on the subject, and 1 should give insight into counter arguments, meaning that they should argue against your stance on the subject. The lessons for this week focus closely on the process of evaluating your sources. This all comes back to that word I used a moment ago, credible. What you have to keep in mind is that your argument is only as strong as the support you provide for it. Think about what you're doing when you produce academic writing as presenting a truth to your reader, just as a scientist would when they were explaining what goes on in a lab. The scientist can posit the conclusions to you, but without telling you the data behind the conclusions, you can't really understand how the conclusions were found. Having that data on hand fills in your understanding so that you're able to get the entire picture. So when you make an argument, you too offer external data that validates your position. However, this only really works if the data you present is reliable. So it becomes critical that you take the time to carefully consider your sources. By and large, if you're coming to your sources through a reputable database, like the ones you're accessing through our academic library, much of the work of credibility is being done for you. However, even within that frame, not all sources are equal. So in most of the databases, when you pull up results, what you'll see is immediately over to the left, they'll provide, there's usually an icon or a note saying what kind of source it is. If it's being published in an academic journal, if it's a book, or if it's a news source. So again, be aware, even though it's coming through an academic database, not everything is rated the same. News sources are often included, and you should remember that these do not have the same rigorous sets of checks and reviews that are customary in academic journals or books published by academic presses. So what you have to do if you're using a news source, that doesn't mean they can't be used. It just means you have to really pay attention to who's doing the publishing and whether or not there is just maybe a single source reporting on it, or if there are lots of people that seem to be saying the same thing, if this is being acknowledged as a truth. All right. So again, you just have to work at it. Even within academic journals, sources can still be suspect, especially in this golden age of digitizing. Many electronic journals have much looser standards for peer review than was common in print publications. So it may pay to look closely at the details for each source and about who is publishing. An example I often use is an article published in 2019 in the International Journal of Cancer. And that is a reputable scholarly publication, and it's actually produced by Wiley & Sons, and they produce a lot of the textbooks that are used in the humanities for your classes at SNHU. So again, they're very reputable. That article, however, talks about the benefits of the Mediterranean diet in reducing the risk for cancer. And again, the journal is great. The article is well written. It has lots of good data, and all of that's great. But in the fine print of the article, it mentions that the research was funded by an independent group who, if you look them up, turns out to be made up of food manufacturers who are strongly connected to distributing stuff that fits nicely into the definition of the Mediterranean diet. Now, does this invalidate the research? No. However, it should give us pause and make us qualify how highly we rate the reliability when it happens that the results seem to promote the economic interests of those funding the study. Now, you probably won't need to dig that deeply into your sources. However, I want you to see how this matters and that this is a legitimate part of the research process that founds good writing. Now, you're going to use the research you discover in order to update your writing notes from week 1. These will be transformed into a writing plan. And what that means is that you will focus on a single topic and start outlining the shape of your paper, the structure, and saying what you will actually be writing. And that includes building in spaces for the details you will incorporate to support your argument. And those details are both ones that you are coming up with from your own brain, and then the support from your sources that are going to validate those. All right. So it's a big step towards getting this project done. This is week 3. Remember, this project is due in week 7, so it's not all that far away. So us moving forward in a really positive way right now will take out a lot of the grief for getting this done later. All right. So as usual, if you need to talk with me, if you have questions about anything, then by all means, let me know and we'll take care of them. All right. Adios for now.